Smoke hangs low over the battlefield. The thunder of cannon echoes across Europe. Soldiers march beneath torn flags, exhausted faces hardened by years of war, and at the center of it all stands one man. Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of the French, master of Europe. A general who once seemed invincible. But by 1809, even the greatest empire begins to crack. The world watches as the tide of destiny begins to turn. For a decade, Napoleon has reshaped Europe through fire and genius. He has defeated Austria, humbled Prussia, crushed coalitions, and crowned himself emperor in defiance of kings. His armies move like storms, swift, precise, unstoppable, but no empire built on war can last forever. Beyond the borders of his rule, resentment festers. Britain, blockaded but unbowed, continues to fund every rebellion against him. Spain bleeds under occupation. Austria plots revenge, and deep within Napoleon's own heart, ambition drives him further than even victory can justify. In the spring of 1809, the Emperor of Austria, Francis I, sees a chance to strike. Napoleon's armies are scattered, engaged across Spain and Germany. The Austrians mobilize once more, calling their people to defend Europe from French domination. They march into Bavaria, hoping to ignite a German uprising. But Napoleon responds with terrifying speed. From Paris, he rides day and night to join his army. In a matter of weeks, he gathers his scattered corps and hurls them against the Austrians. At the Battle of Ekmal, his maneuvering brilliance traps and shatters the enemy. Vienna falls once again to French troops. Yet this campaign is not like those before. At Ospernessling, on the banks of the Danube, Napoleon suffers his first major defeat. His attempt to cross the river is met by a determined Austrian defense. Bridges collapse, ammunition runs short, and the French army is forced to retreat. For the first time in his career, Napoleon tastes failure. Udo trembles, wondering if the giant has finally fallen. But the emperor learns quickly. 2 months later, he crosses the Danube again and meets the Austrians at Wagram. For 2 days, cannon fire rips through the fields as over 300,000 men clash in one of the largest battles of the age. The French line bends, but does not break. Napoleon unleashes a massive artillery bombardment, followed by a counterattack that crushes the Austrian center. Victory returns, but it is costly. 40,000 men lie dead or wounded, and the empire's strength begins to drain. Still, Napoleon stands triumphant. He forces Austria to sign the Treaty of Schönbrunn, taking more territory and humiliating his old enemies. Once again, but beneath the surface, cracks spread. The Peninsular War in Spain rages endlessly, devouring men and money. In the mountains of Iberia, British and Spanish forces, led by generals like Wellington, lead the French army through guerrilla warfare. Every village, every hill becomes a battlefield. Napoleon's marshals win battles but lose control. The Spanish people, once divided, unite through hatred of the invader. In the dusty towns and broken hills of Spain, the myth of French invincibility begins to die. Meanwhile, in Paris, the emperor faces a different struggle. His marriage to Josephine has produced no heir. To secure his dynasty, Napoleon divorces her, the woman he once adored, and marries Archduchess Marie-Louise of Austria, uniting the two rival houses by blood. The gesture is political, cold, and necessary. It brings peace for a moment, but also arrogance. Napoleon begins to see himself not as a revolutionary general, but as a monarch born to rule. His court grows lavish, his power absolute, yet the shadow of his past victories blinds him to the dangers ahead. Beyond the empire's eastern frontier lies Russia, vast, mysterious, and defiant. Once an ally, Tsar Alexander I grows wary of French dominance. The continental system, Napoleon's trade blockade against Britain, suffocates Russia's economy. Tensions rise. Each side prepares for war. Both believe in destiny favors them. By 1812, Napoleon gathers the largest army Europe has ever seen. The Grande Army. Over 600,000 men from across his empire, French, German, Italian, Polizone, assemble on the banks of the Niemen River. The emperor rides among them, confidant, almost setting. He believes this campaign will end in triumph, that he will crush Russia as he has crushed all others. On June 24th, 1812, he gives the order. The army crosses the river. The invasion of Russia begins. The first weeks unfold in silence and dust. The Russians retreat, burning their own villages and crops as they go. The French advance deeper, but find nothing. No supplies, no battles, only ashes. The summer heat suffocates them. Disease spreads, and morale begins to falter. Napoleon waits for a decisive engagement, but the enemy refuses to stand. Only in September do the Russians turn to fight at Borodino, a small village west of Moscow. It becomes one of the bloodiest single days of the Napoleonic Wars. From dawn until dusk, cannon fire and musket volleys consume the field. Men die by the tens of thousands for every inch of ground. At the end of the day, Napoleon holds the field, but victory feels hollow. The Russian army withdraws in order. Battered but alive, the road to Moscow lies open. Yet at what cost? 40,000 Frenchmen lie dead or wounded. Napoleon enters Moscow expecting peace, but the city is deserted. That night, fires erupt across the skyline. The Russians have set their capital ablaze. 4 days, flames devour the wooden city. Napoleon watches from the Kremlin as his prize turns to ash. The message is unmistakable. Russia will not surrender. Weeks pass. Winter approaches. Still, no peace comes from the Tsar. Reluctantly, Napoleon orders the retreat. What follows is one of the greatest disasters in military history. As snow falls and temperatures plunge, the Grande Armée disintegrates. Frostbite, hunger, and exhaustion claim more lives than battle. Horses die, cannon are abandoned, and discipline collapses. Cossack riders harass the retreating columns, picking off the stragglers. Men freeze in their sleep, their uniforms stiff with ice. When the army reaches the Berezina River, it finds the bridges destroyed. Desperation sets in. For 2 days, French engineers build makeshift crossings under fire. Thousands drown. Thousands more are captured. When the survivors finally cross into friendly territory, barely 1/10 of the army remains. Of the 600,000 who marched into Russia, fewer than 70,000 return. Napoleon has won many battles, but now he faces an enemy even he cannot defeat: the Russian winter. In Paris, news of the disaster spreads like wildfire. The myth of the emperor's invincibility shatters. Europe senses weakness. Prussia and Austria, humiliated for years, begin to steer. Britain calls for another coalition. The tide of history begins to turn against the man who once ruled it. Yet Napoleon refuses to yield. In the ashes of his greatest defeat, he rebuilds. He calls for new recruits, boys barely old enough to fight, and forms another army. The people obey, though weary and broken. The emperor will save us, they whisper, as he gathers his strength for one last gamble to hold his empire together. The world waits, knowing the storm will come again. The emperor returns to France in silence. The men who survive Russia limp through the gates of Paris like ghosts, frostbitten, hollow-eyed. They carry the story of a disaster so immense that even the French people, long accustomed to glory, begin to doubt. But Napoleon will not accept defeat. Wheat in Mons, he rebuilds his army. New conscripts, untested youths, remnants of old veterans recalled from distant garrisons. Their loyalty is unwavering, their faith in the emperor almost religious. Europe, however, no longer trembles. Prussia rises first, breaking its forced alliance with France. Austria hesitates, wary but watching. Britain funds a new coalition, and Russia advances west with vengeance in its heart. The Sixth Coalition is born, and this time the world moves not in fear but in unity. In the spring of 1813, the emperor marches east once more, determined to restore his legend. His new army is strong in number, but weak in experience. Still, under his command, they fight with courage. At Botzen, Napoleon wins brilliant victories, maneuvering his troops with the same speed and precision that once made him unstoppable. The old magic flickers to life again, and Europe shudders, wondering if the phoenix has risen from the ashes. But his triumphs are fragile. The men lack horses, supplies, and veterans. His marshals bicker and falter. The armistice that follows gives his enemies time to recover, and they use it well. By the autumn of 1813, the combined armies of Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Sweden converge upon Germany at Leipzig. In October, the largest battle in European history unfolds, a titanic struggle that will decide the fate of the continent. For 3 days, the roar of cannon echoes across Saxony. 600,000 soldiers clash in smoke and blood. Napoleon's lines bend beneath overwhelming numbers. His allies, the Saxons, betray him mid-battle, turning their guns on the French. Confusion spreads. The bridges over the Elster River are blown too early, trapping thousands of men. The Grande Armée collapses. It is the Battle of Nations End. France has lost. The emperor retreats once more, his army shattered, his empire crumbling. One by one, his vassal states abandon him. The Confederation of the Rhine dissolves, and German princes rush to join the victors. Even Austria, bound by marriage, turns against him. As 1814 dawns, Allied armies cross the Rhine for the first time in 20 years. France itself becomes the battlefield. Towns burn, fields flood, and once proud citizens flee before foreign armies. Yet Napoleon fights with desperate brilliance. His 1814 campaign in France is a masterpiece of maneuver. With a fraction of his former strength, he defeats larger forces in battle after battle. Champavert, Montmirail. His genius flares one last time, dazzling friend and foe alike. But genius cannot fight numbers forever. The Allies close in on Paris from all directions. The city, weary of war, begins to lose faith. Napoleon races to defend it, but his marshals hesitate, politicians plot, and his enemies advance too fast. On March 30th, 1814, Paris falls. The white flag of the Bourbons rises over the city that once ruled Europe. The next day, in the quiet of Fontainebleau, the Emperor of the French faces the end. Surrounded by his generals, he writes his abdication. Tears fill the eyes of the men who once followed him across continents. The legend of Napoleon Bonaparte, who rose from obscurity to reshape the world, has come to an end, at least for now. He tries to end his life with poison, but fate spares him once again. The Allies exile him to the small island of Elba, off the coast of Italy. From emperor to prisoner, the fall is complete. Yet even in exile, his mind never rests. He watches Europe from afar, listening to reports of the restored Bourbon monarchy, of old kings returning to old ways, of the people growing restless under foreign rule. He paces the island shores, dreaming of one more chance, one more campaign to reclaim his destiny. The world believes the story of Napoleon is over. They are wrong. Less than a year later, in February 1815, he escapes Elba and sails for France with a handful of loyal soldiers. As he steps ashore, he faces the troops sent to arrest him, alone, unarmed. He opens his coat and calls out, "Soldiers, if there is one among you who wishes to kill his emperor, here I stand." The men lower their weapons and erupt in cheers. The eagle rises again. Wheat in weeks, Napoleon retakes Paris without a shot fired. The 100 days begin. Europe trembles once more, but that is another story. The downfall of 1809 to 1814 marks not just the collapse of an empire, but the shattering of an age. The wars Napoleon unleashed consumed millions, reshaped nations, and redrew the map of Europe. From the ashes of his ambition rose a new order, one built not on revolution, but on balance, caution, and the memory of his storm. For a generation, men would whisper his name with awe and fear, as the greatest general who ever lived, and the man who proved that even the mightiest empire can fall.